Всем привет! Today I would like to tell you about ancient Russian wedding traditions. Also, I'm trying my new microphone, which I wear here on my clothes. So please tell me, how do you like it? How do you like the sound? Because actually I feel much more comfortable working with this kind of microphone, so I hope that it will be okay for you too. And let's begin. First of all, I'd like to start with the very beginning and tell about how people in ancient Russian or even Slavic villages could meet each other. I mean, young people who wanted to find a bride or groom. It was typical to have big holidays between several villages, for example. One village could visit another village, so people came there, stayed there, or several villages came to some place and maybe lived there during the several days of holidays. And young people could meet each other there. Also, for example, using traditional dance, ring dance, which is I think typical not only for Slavic countries, but I'm not sure. But exactly, it was typical in ancient Russia. So all the people stood in the big circle and singing and walking around to the one side, to the other side, holding their hands. It could be a very long time. It could last for a very long time, like half an hour or even an hour. And during this dance, people could look at each other standing in this circle, and they could see whom do they like, whom they don't like. Married women, they wore different clothes, they wore different headgears or had different haircuts, so young men could distinguish them. If they liked someone, they could bring to this woman a flower or some other stuff to show their how to say it, to show that they are attracted with them. Then, when two young people decided to marry, well of course, as in many ancient cultures, they not really decided. Their families played big role in the marriage. They of course, they could have marriage as a deal too, and but also they could be rejected by bride. That depended, I think, on each family also, and on relationships inside of each family, and relatives of groom and groom could come to bride's house and they could be accepted or rejected. So usually they do it in the evening time, so to avoid neighbors laugh at them or something if they would be rejected, sorry. And if they are accepted by bride's family and by bride, then bride's relatives came to groom's house, checked if he lived good, if the house is good, if he's wealthy enough to marry their daughter, and if everything was okay, they started to preparing marriage and the wedding. There were different wedding traditions before wedding, mostly for bride. For example, go to the bathhouse, wash yourself before the wedding, but I think that's quite typical. That seems just normal nowadays. I just mean that before people didn't do it so often. Maybe that's why it was like a tradition, something unusual. Also, there was a girls' party. We call it girls' party, девичник in Russian, but I read that it's called a bachelorette party. I hope that I read it correctly. And so only for bride and her friends, female friends and relatives. There were special traditions during this party. For example, undoing girls' braid, because unmarried women in ancient Russia, they had their hair in one braid, but if you are already a married woman, then you have two braids. They can be just like long, or you can put them up and have some haircut and cover your hair with a headgear named kokoshnik. So technically you should cover all your hair with this headgear if you are married. Also, before wedding, bride and her family should have prepared like bride stuff. I think I'll write the word below. Also, there are different challenges during the wedding day. For example, when groom just coming to the bride's home, he can be asked to pay out for the bride. On some weddings nowadays we still have this tradition, but usually it's like cringe, or so modern people usually avoid doing this. But in some small towns or villages it's still possible if people like weddings with this stuff. For example, friends or relatives of the bride could meet the groom before the entrance and start asking questions about the bride. For example, her favorite dish, her eye color, and if he can answer, it's okay. If he can't, to go further, he need to pay them, give some money. And that's very funny. I saw some videos, some mates or relatives showed me that funny when groom can't answer any question about the bride, and they're like, okay, well, come inside, okay, never mind. That's really funny. But yeah, as I told, usually young people perceive it as cringe. So we don't do this. But before, something like this could be. The challenges depended on traditions or relatives' creativity, so they could be quite different. For example, very popular was the challenge with guessing the bride. So relatives and friends covered several girls, and the groom needed to guess who is the bride under the blanket, for example. One more tradition, which I was told in my university, was, let me read, because I forgot how to call it, beat water in a mortar. So groom and bride needed to take a mortar, pestle, and together started beating their water. And that's how they showed the guests that they know what to do during the wedding night. And that's a bit funny, because we wondered during our study, because maybe they don't know anything, they are not educated, and they could think that they really need to do it during the first wedding night. And also I thought that there is an expression in Russian language, actually beat water in a mortar, and that means do some useless job. So maybe it's connected somehow. Wedding feast could last for several days. That's absolutely normal practice for ancient Russian holidays. There could be a long table with lots of food, and people really could celebrate several days. Usually, I think it was mostly a holiday for relatives, because I think it was a great tension for bride and groom to be in the center of everyone's attention for so long, and their life actually changes forever. So I think, yeah, that was mostly for relatives, all this weddings and fests. And some other interesting traditions I wrote down. For example, while driving to the ceremony, to deceive dark forces, to make them lose the track and not follow a young couple in their life, in their future life together. The carriage showed us way a lot of times, and took around about different roads, so to confuse some dark powers, demons, and dark energy. Also, a very important tradition that groom should carry the bride on his arms into his house the first time. So bride comes to groom's family, to groom's house, and she must be carried, not stepped into the house, because if she is carried in, the brownie, the housekeeper, the spirit of housekeeping, which in Russian is called domovoy. I already talked about him in a video about Russian folklore characters. So in Russia we call it domovoy. He will be kind to the bride as a new family member. So that's claimed to be very important. Also, one more tradition is that during wedding, guests could tie hands of groom and bride with red ribbon, so tied them together. Red color is color of love, and that's how they kept bride and groom together. Also, talking about wedding dresses, they were not just white, they could be white with red, blue, actually different colors. It was holiday sundress with traditional decorations, so not just white like in European traditions. So I think that's it. I took the most interesting thing I found, and if you have any more questions, you can ask me. If you have something similar in your culture, you can also write a comment. It would be very interesting for me to read. So thank you for watching, and пока-пока.